That's right.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of glennzb TV, the show that puts glennzb into your TV. This morning, we start with another consistent performance from the Black Caps. They are just going from, what's the opposite of saying strength to strength? Weakness to weakness? I don't know. We need to come up with a new phrase. But yeah, another great performance. They finally lost enough to actually dip out of the tournament that they were in. A tournament which the whole format of the tournament seemed to be engineered to keep them in the tournament no matter how many times they lost. Somehow they qualified for this thing called the Super 8s, and then they lost a super over to Sri Lanka the other day, and still they stayed in, and then they got absolutely trounced by England, still they stayed in, still they had like what they love to call a mathematical probability of getting through to the next round, but then yet another super over today in the West Indies, and they were quite super. They scored 17 runs, but then the West Indies were just a little bit more super, scored more runs than that in that super over. And so, yeah, now they're out. So good effort, Black Caps. You just keep on losing until you ultimately lose. I like that kind of tenacity. Do we need some driver's license alternatives? Now that we found out yesterday how hard it is to actually get your license these days, with allegations that there's some kind of quota system and people will be failed even if they pass, it's a bit hard, isn't it? Why does it have to be so hard? Could we not just... if there is a quota system, can we not just make it like a lucky dip, give it away in cereal packets? You know, got my driver's license in my Cocoa Pops, because I don't really understand why it has to be so hard when you've got things like the Google self-driving car. This is a picture of it here in the background, and there's the driver of the car in the foreground. That's right, he's holding a cane, he's blind, he's just got back from Taco Bell in the Google self-driving car there. We've got cars that can drive themselves. Can we just simplify the driver's license test? It's too hard. All you need to be able to do, if you can parallel park and do a hill start, those are easily the most complicated things you ever have to do when you're driving. If you can prove you can do those two things, I think you can get your license. I can't parallel park, but I think they forgot to test that in my test. That's how I got my license. It takes me about 10 goes on average. Sometimes you fluke it. You know how sometimes you just, ooh, look at that. And you're straight in, but really that doesn't happen very often. Usually you're scratching the rims of your wheels, and it's impossible. Why don't they invent... Oh, they've invented a self-driving car that will actually do that for you. So let's just give those to everybody, forget about the driver's licenses, it's all cool. Hey, how many spies do we actually need in New Zealand? Because on the back of this whole GCSB thing with the Kim.com case, and they were listening in illegally, and then we've had a big review, it turns out that the Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Kitteridge has been pulled into review not just this agency's performance, but all of our security agencies' performance. We've got... I didn't even know we had the GCSB. We've got more than one spy agency. What are they spying on? Are they? Is there a pack of them? Is it like a media scrum? We need lots of spies to spy on one person at once. We must be doing a lot of bad, nefarious stuff. Or are they spying on each other? Is that how it goes? We're spying on the spies to make sure that they're doing their jobs properly. I don't know. I need clarification. Hey, or are they asking really probing questions like, why is John Key really off to Hollywood? I've got two theories here. One, yesterday he said that he didn't think that Mike Tyson should be allowed in the country. And frankly, I don't think it's a very good idea to say anything bad about Mike Tyson when he's coming to the country. And if you do, probably a good idea to be out of the country, I don't know, somewhere like Hollywood, when he gets here, because he packs a punch. My second theory is that he's auditioning for something, because I don't know about Key Dids, but if you ask me, he seems like the kind of guy who would love to star in his own movie. Or maybe a TV series. Maybe he's heard that they're making another series of 24 and they're looking for somebody to be the president. That would be right up John Key's street. So yeah, I think he's gone over to audition. And we'll finish with an interesting ear story. We've got a woman's new ear has been growing on her arm. They took cartilage from her ribs, they shaped it to an ear, and then they stuck it under her arm. It grew there, became covered with skin. It spent 4 months there, and then the skin grew over it, and then it was placed on her head. So this raises a few questions. When you have an ear that's been growing on your arm, I guess if it was growing further down your arm, does that mean that you can then make obscene gestures with your ear? Would people understand them if you did? But in this case, it was growing under her arm. Does that mean that she now has to put deodorant on her ear, or it starts smelling bad by the end of the day? Don't know. So many questions today, not many answers. I'm sorry about that. I'll try and come up with some more answers for you tomorrow. That was the Tuesday edition of Glenn ZB TV. Thank you so much for having me in your telly.